I got you into a Remington party. What's my thanks? It's on the hallway carpet. I got paid in puke. Lick it up, baby. I got paid in puke.
Welcome to Paid in Puke, a podcast where three women with names discuss movies about something other than a man. Paid in Puke is hosted by Annie Malone, Christina Barr, and Jessica Baxter. It's also a spoiler-filled free-for-all. You've been warned. It's Paid in Puke Series 7, Episode 2. I'm Jessica Baxter.
I'm Annie Malone.
I'm Christina Barr.
And we are discussing Ryan Murphy's American Crime Story Impeachment miniseries. This is Episode 2, The President Kissed Me, directed by Michael Uppendahl and written by the showrunner Sarah Burgess.
The president kissed me. Monica, how long has this been going on? We had an affair. It's over.
This sounds like it is absolutely not over.
They want to believe you. We just need to help them along.
She was thinking maybe I could do some TV appearances.
I would not advise going on TV.
There's a bigger story, much bigger than this.
I like the direction of this episode. Michael Uppendahl has also directed episodes of other shows that I personally like a lot. Legion, Mad Men, Fargo. Shows that I don't like, but I'm sure he did a good job. The Walking Dead. So the synopsis of this episode is, a despondent Monica believes the president has given up their affair and fears she won't return to the White House, so she confides in Linda. And Linda gives her all kinds of shitty-ass advice. Meanwhile, Paula's lawsuit gains a new ally, Susan Carpenter McMillan, played by Judith Light, a conservative feminist who says that she wants to protect Paula's interests. And then, meanwhile, Ann Coulter is doing some fuckery, trying to get the president impeached, titular impeached. And a journalist arrives to question Linda. And Bubba's here. And she,
Was Bill Clinton nicknamed Bubba?
Yes, he was. That's really funny. Special
Bubba
guest.
the cat, yeah.
Bubba's got some things to say about this episode. I think we might have to open the door. He doesn't care except that the door's closed. Yeah, hello, Bubba. And then Monica finally gets to go back to the White House, and that causes all kinds of trouble. So let's talk about this episode. Wow.
A lot going on in this episode.
Yeah. It starts with the government shutdown, and we get some backstory. The intern girl and how she gets enmeshed with the president. There is some great shots in this episode. Bubba, my God. Are you coming up, or what are you doing?
Yeah, the government shut down and everything is so serious seeming, and like they round all the interns up and they're like, everyone else is non-essential, but lucky you. You're gonna go to the White House or the West Wing.
Yeah.
I don't know, like she's being primed for this big opportunity, and the guy's like, you're gonna be working with people who run the world, and I don't know, it seems like this very exciting thing happening.
Why did they bring so many interns in at that time? Were they all unpaid?
Interns are like always unpaid.
Yeah. That's why so many interns showed up, is because they weren't allowed to pay people to work, but they could still have their slaves doing the work.
Like bullshit internships where you work 40 hours a week and get paid nothing.
Yeah.
I've had one of those before when I was in college.
That's a real racket, the whole internship.
God, we love, as a country, finding new ways to get around the whole, slavery being illegal thing. We're like, but what if we do it like this?
And it's just like another way, too, where privilege comes into play that people don't always get, because that is a luxury. If you can afford to work for free, it's just like another way where people think that things are equal and they're really not, Because those interns, they're working their asses off, but they have some leg up somewhere that they were able to do that, to work for free,
Yeah.
It's so interesting, too, because there's a correlation. I mean, I don't know Monica's actually financial background, but like the president says that she's high on the hog living in the Watergate Hotel, but she's like, not really.
Yeah, she's pretty wealthy. She's from a wealthy family. Her dad is like a famous doctor or something, and I mean, you'll see it in later episodes. I don't want to give too much away, but in the interrogation episode, she's very lucky that her parents had this lawyer.
I mean, you can spoil it a little bit because it's like, this happened.
Right.
This is history.
Oh, okay.
So.
Well, I don't want to give anything
away in the
exciting about the show away, but the fact that she's an intern in the White House, like, her family had a lot of connections to get her that position. I mean, she grew up in Beverly Hills and...
Right. Los Angeles, California.
Los Angeles, California.
Los Angeles, California.
Yeah.
Like, as if anyone doesn't know what LA is.
Yeah, the Watergate Hotel. Is it a hotel? I guess it's a hotel.
It is a hotel.
But people live in it.
Her parents are divorced, but her mother, I guess, is moving to New York. They've got a lot of money. I think that she doesn't have a lot of worries there.
Okay.
Where that's concerned.
One thing that comes up for me from this show is like, DC must be such an exhausting place. It's like everybody is so ambitious. I feel like that's like the only character trait that brings people to DC or brings people to politics is ambition, you know.
It seems like it. It's all just like a game of chess where they're like trying to angle.
Well, it's just that everybody's trying to get higher.
Yeah, exactly. We talked about this last episode too, about how it's like Hollywood in that way. The game is becoming successful. Like, you don't think of it as that because it's the government. They're supposed to be taking care of the country and doing important work, keeping all of the citizens safe and healthy, and they're not doing any of that. They're just like fighting each other over positions.
Yeah, it really is like that in like companies too. The high levels is very Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Stabby.
Yeah, backstabbing.
You have to be built for that, I think, to get to that level, I think. They're all very ambitious people.
And they don't play fair at all. It's like, they don't want to go by the rules. They're like, it's all about character assassination. It's worse than just power play positions. It gets personal so fast.
Yeah. Ann Coulter, you see her talking in that scene about like, you guys are boring.
Well, to be clear, the goal isn't to embarrass him. It's to constrain a president who has engaged in illicit activities.
I'm bored. You're boring. That's the problem with you Republicans.
You're a Republican.
I'm a conservative. You're all too nice. What does that get you? It gets you Dole.
What's wrong with Dole?
He lost. Idiotic American females couldn't wait to re-elect their fat boyfriend.
Be that as it may, this case is all we have now.
Right. What would you like me to do?
She's out for blood.
Yeah,
you know?
she says
like,
they're too nice. They're Republicans because they're too nice. The conservatives are like the warriors.
I think her career was largely launched because of this whole period in time and this impeachment thing. It's crazy like how many people made careers out of this whole moment.
Yeah.
There were a lot of losers too. And it's like, yeah, with Paula Jones, you know, lots of other women that were abused by him.
And how it has to be like the level of abuse, what counts, like the whole idea of Linda Tripp being like, that's a small fish. Like what happened to Kathleen, her former alleged friend, is like, that's nothing. She was assaulted by the president, but not enough for it to matter.
And she's bitter that her friend got that full-time job.
Yeah, she's not going to help her in any way.
She's not going to back her story up. She was legitimately, you know...
assaulted.
Yeah, by the president. Linda Tripp is just like, she's very pleased with herself that she has like this juicy story, you know, and...
Right. Well, it's like there's like 3 stories in this of like inappropriate workplace behavior, right?
Yeah.
And it's like everybody,
oh my God.
With each one, the other people around it, it's like, how does this help me politically or me personally or overall? Like with Paula Jones, you know, it's like the conservative women like care about this because it was a Democrat. And then Kathleen Willey like, well, is that really going to help Linda Tripp? Not especially, you know, but she can probably do something with Monica, which is not an example really of like harassment, you know, but it's problematic in its way, but you know what I mean? This is something that I can work with.
Yeah.
And then eventually it'll come out and conservatives will be like, okay, we care about this because it's going to help us against Bill Clinton.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Like they prove themselves years later not caring at all about all the many, many women that Trump harassed.
Right.
and even straight up raped, and they're like, this doesn't help us to pursue this.
Right.
Or like,
and we've seen it
yeah,
both sides of like
absolutely.
people where, you know, we don't want to believe it if it's a Democrat, and we do want to believe it if it's a Republican, and it's a real bummer. You know, like, instead of just like, maybe it's wrong, maybe women shouldn't be sexually harassed at work, I don't know, crazy concepts.
Yeah, when, no matter what the affiliation of the person doing it. What a crazy idea. Just the different types of feminism, quote unquote, and with, what's her name already? I forgot.
Judith Light.
Well, Judith, yeah. Susan Carpenter McMillan, the Coalition for Women, who's like a Phyllis Schlafly. Yeah. Like a feminist, but they're like a crazy kind of feminist.
Wait, who?
Susan Carpenter McMillan, president and founder of the Women's Coalition. We're a nonprofit that advocates for what I like to call conservative feminism.
Okay. Wonderful.
I was at an event for the Right to Life League, and Susie came up and said she knew who I was.
I was doing a piece of commentary in support of Paula for our ABC affiliate.
And I thought, oh my gosh, how nice. And she told me that she thought I was being treated poorly.
Poorly is an understatement. I'm here to protect Paula's interests.
How nice.
I believe it's my right to serve my husband, or it's my right to tell women what to do with their bodies.
Right, yeah. She's a pro-lifer. And, that line where she takes Paula Jones to Nordstrom for the makeover, and she's like...
People get confused when I tell them I'm a conservative feminist. But the fact is, you don't have to be a lesbian or an abortionist to believe that a woman deserves equal respect to a man when she walks in a room.
That's right.
And that's what you deserve. And I want you to know that.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, wow, okay.
What world is she living in like 1995, where it's like lesbians and abortionists, they're on top of the world. Like,
right.
That's who gets respect. You know?
Or to believe, I think it was like to believe that you deserve respect.
It's
but still like...
What are you talking about?
It is very, what are you talking about?
Yeah, she's like, that's what people think feminism is. You're a lesbian or abortionist?
Yeah.
But like, I'm a feminist. And she's a very like girl boss kind of... person, I think, and I guess she must be like a really wealthy power player or something.
Yeah.
And like she has those dogs. Oh, that was so sad. She compares Paula Jones to her prize dogs.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, that sucks.
I don't know that I have ever been that proud. Not even when Paco won Best in Group at Pasadena. Not even when he won Best in Show at Silver Bay.
I feel like that happened in the press, too. I feel like there was some comparison to Paula Jones and a poodle, maybe because of her hair. People are so mean about her. I'm loving this performance by Annaleigh Ashford.
Yeah.
She's so good. We all awed out loud when she was like...
I don't think anybody's ever looked at me and said I was great.
It's hard because she's an earnest person who is really telling her story, and it's like, she's right. Like in the interview, she's like, well, I think he put himself here. Because the interviewer's like, this is just such an embarrassment for the president.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of as if she's putting it on him.
Like, why are you doing this to him?
Mm-hmm.
And she was really like,
I'm telling the truth about what happened, and if I can get to trial, the truth will come out.
Don't you think this has created a huge embarrassment for the President of the United States?
You know, I didn't do this. He's the one that did something to me. He put himself here.
I mean, that actually was a very insightful thing to say.
Right. She's really thankful for this woman who's helping her with her clothes and seems to be treating her nicely, but I mean, this woman is using her as like this political pawn.
Yeah.
She's not at all what I thought based on the news. She's so sweet. Yeah, she is sweet.
Dumb as a rock, though.
Yeah, it's just sad to...
Well,
she's so earnest.
She's a good foil for Monica, because it's two different types of women who are both being used in the same way, but Paula's kind of not conventionally as intelligent or sharp as Monica. She's coming from a different socioeconomic background. She's not ambitious, but Monica is the opposite of that, but still being used. The thing they have in common is that the president wanted to fuck them. And
right, yeah. With Monica, like, her interactions with the president, I mean, he's just always talking about himself. and like, oh, my life is so crazy right now. You know, it's just like, I just wonder how she would feel like watching this episode of her.
Well, she was very heavily creatively involved in it.
Right, yeah, but it must have been like,
I like that line. Yeah, I like that line about, it's the exchange between her and Linda about how Monica remembers things very well. Like, she remembers quotes, verbatim quotes, and she remembers what outfits she was wearing.
April 28th, I went to an APAC fundraiser, and I wore my sage green J. Crew suit, and I saw him there.
Okay, next interaction.
May 1st, he called at 2:06 a.m., and like an idiot, I picked a fight.
I just like that because it really adds validity to the show. Allegedly, the dialogue behind closed doors is as verbatim as she possibly can recollect it, so. But it's especially interesting because, like, she remembers the dialogue, but then the interpretation is totally different. Like, her interpretation of what was going on at the time versus hindsight interpretation of it.
Yeah.
And him saying all the right things. Lest we forget that presidents are hired because they're good at talking.
I've never come across any book quite as marvelous as this one. Have you read it?
Only Song of Myself.
Oh, you should read the whole thing. It's really special to me. And you are really special to me. Don't ever forget that.
They're good at saying things that people want to hear. So he's using that on her romantically.
And making her feel like she's just so special,
yeah.
You know? And the scene where she is on the phone and she shows her thong. She actually did that, right?
She did that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell she's like so drawn to him.
And when that man focuses his attention on you, the world stops. It was magnetic. It was unstoppable, and I couldn't breathe around him. It was beyond anything I'd ever experienced.
I don't get it. I'm so not drawn to him.
Yeah.
Like when he was talking about like being in Florida and I was up by 20 points and I had it in the bag and then it was like a bummer because like no more fight. I'm like, ugh, I hate this guy.
I was in Miami because damn it if I weren't going to get Florida this time. And a poll comes out and has me beating Dole by 20 points. I mean, I've been polling well, but this was game over. You know what I felt, Monica? As I sat there in that hotel looking at that poll, I was fucking furious. Because it took away any notion of a fight. And I love to fight. I love it. This was the last campaign of my life, and it was done.
I'm just like, if I was on a date with some guy talking, I'd be like,
yeah.
I know, and she's like,
not appealing to me, any of that.
That's one thing you just can't get across on television. And you couldn't get across even with the actual President Clinton, was the report that he has such natural in-person charisma.
Right.
But it's only like if you're in front of him that it works.
Yeah, because I feel like you can have like charming, charismatic characters in movies and TV, but there must be something about him in person. Like they say he has real animal magnetism, and it's like, it's not translating to me for sure.
It's got to be like literally pheromones.
I guess it must be, you know.
I can kind of sense it. I looked at that scene and I was listening to what he's saying and it's like so eye-rolly, you know?
Yeah.
But then I kind of think, oh, well, if I was like 21 and listening to that guy, I probably would have thought, oh, God.
Well, that is another thing, too, is that she is so young. And also, to her, the president, because she's like a government super fan, it's like she's standing in front of David Bowie or something.
Right, yeah.
She's so smitten with everything that he is. And so it's hard for us to see that, but... It's also interesting to me because normally Clive Owen is a big
so
yes for me, a big time would.
Oh, yeah, for me too.
But as Bill Clinton, I can barely see Clive Owen in there.
Oh yeah, it's way more Bill Clinton.
Yeah, which is a great testament to his performance.
So I'm curious, like what she says, when that man focuses his attention on you, the world stops. Have you ever felt that way about someone? Ever experienced that feeling? Like that was totally alien to me.
That's a great question.
I haven't had that because he's like a larger-than-life, famous, powerful... I've never had that kind of...
I've definitely felt
I've never
that...
been adjacent to any of that kind of person.
I mean, I guess I just feel like I've heard people say that about people that they know. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
I've felt that way, like, when I've been in love. you know, a couple times. Like, I could think of specific people who are not famous people who I've been in love with. I don't know, like, I feel like when I saw Pulp in concert a couple times, I would have, like, maybe swooned if Jarvis Cocker had looked at me directly. I felt the one-sided magnetism. So I can imagine if I'm feeling that way for someone who's not paying any attention to me, and then they do pay attention to me even a tiny bit, how that would be like, whoa!
Even, like, people who aren't A-list famous, like, if I see, like, a D-list celebrity, I just get so starstruck.
Really?
Like, I don't know why, but that's not, like, the same thing of, like, I'm so drawn to
it's
them.
Not
like,
the same thing, though.
That's true, but, like, I went to a book signing that Mark Maron, he was, like, signing his book and had his podcast producer there because they co-wrote it, and, like, I got my picture taken with him, and I got up to the line, and I wanted to tell him, like, how much his podcast meant to me and all this stuff, but I couldn't do that because I thought, like, oh, I'll start crying or something. Oh, wow. And I just said, I'm not good at meeting famous people, and I like your show. I'm not good at meeting famous people. And it was kind of funny because his partner was like, well, that's great, because I'm not famous. It was kind of like a nice levity thing.
Yeah.
But I was just like, it was like maybe that same kind of effect. I'm just like, I can't believe I'm talking to this person.
Yeah.
That's funny, because there's that singer Dan Byrne that I used to be so into. I mean, I still love him, but I saw him so many times. And, like, he's not, like, that big a deal. Basically, almost every time I saw him, we waited around after and got to talk to him. And there was one time, it was like the opposite experience. Rich and I were together. It was when we lived in Boston and we saw him somewhere in Massachusetts. And we waited for him, and then we were talking to him. And then it was like kind of hitting on me, and it was like so uncomfortable. And he's like, so what do you call honey? We're just like right there, you know? And it was like so weird. And it was kind of like, okay, I'm sure other people are waiting to talk to you. It was like kind of the opposite experience.
Wow.
I mean, obviously, if I had been single, like, it would have been a whole different story. But even though I was so into that performer, you know, I had his attention, and it was not like, okay, world's not stopping. I'm like, bye, Denver. Nice talking to you.
Right. Like, you've literally never felt the world stop. You're like, I can only feel it marching on. I don't even have time for you, Denver.
Because, like, when you do have that with somebody, like, they have power over you.
Yeah,
so, like, that's pretty cool that you're not susceptible to that.
Well,
you're just vibing the whole way.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, if I had never been single any of the times that I waited around for Denver, you know, I would have been up for it, but he just kept talking, and we're like, hey, bye.
How funny. There was a time when I was vibing with Eugene Merman at South by Southwest.
Oh, yeah!
And he invited us to another party.
Did you go?
Yes.
Oh, nice.
It was fun. He actually, like, couldn't get us into the other party, but he's like, I'm gonna go find the guy I know in here that wouldn't let me in, Burgos and my friend Jacob. He's like, I'm gonna go find my friend that I know in here, and he'll let you in. And then we were waiting outside for such a long time. We were like, how long did we wait? He's just in the party now and definitely ditched us. And, like, we were just about to leave when he came back and was like, okay, you guys can come in. And we were like, oh my god, he came back. Yeah, but then afterwards, like, we did lose him in the party. But he was totally cool. And
he didn't forget about you.
But I wasn't like, I don't know if I would have, like, done anything Eugene Merman asked me to do. It was just, like, really fun.
Right, like, would you have waited by the phone?
Like, we were about to leave. I wasn't like, I will wait here all night until he comes back.
He said he's coming.
I don't know, it's interesting. Let's talk more about this episode, though. But that is a very interesting topic. Maybe that should have been our lunchtime poll. Have you ever been so smitten that the world stopped?
The other thing is also just so down bad for someone that you'll, like, wait by the phone or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
Related but different.
Oh my god. Yeah, she's so down bad. It sucks.
Oh boy.
I love her friend, Kat.
Yes.
Kat,
a good friend.
Such a good friend, making a lot of sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't hate me, but if I'm seeing someone and he only calls me twice a month, I would take that as a sign.
He's the leader of the free world. He's busy. Yeah, he's the most unavailable man on the entire planet. Somehow you about done yourself.
Total Cassandra of, like, this could be really bad for you if it got out.
Mm-hmm.
You think? Yes.
Yeah, and she's not like, oh my god, you're with the president, you know, like,
yeah. If anything, she's holding back. She's not saying this dude is obviously a total creep.
Yeah.
Because it's like probably treason to say that.
And she's been around to see this happen to her friend multiple times.
She does say this is a pattern for you. Unavailable men.
I'm officially freaked out. Oh, I know. You know I don't judge. But you have this pattern.
I was a psych major. I'm aware of my own pathologies.
You get involved with an unavailable guy. He takes way more from you than he gives you, and then you end up in a really bad place.
But I'm in love with him.
Yes, and this is the most unavailable man you could...
Yeah.
Man, this episode, more than anything, just makes me so thankful for cell phones. Like, remember, like, if you were waiting for someone to call you, you had to literally be at home by the phone.
Yeah, I guess she said she can't call him back, so even if he, like, left a voicemail, or whatever, an answering machine message, I guess it would have been at the time.
I think there was voicemail in
Was there?
1995. I think so, yeah. But still, yeah, if you can't call him back, then it's...
Yeah, what good is it? Yeah. Although it does seem like their conversation is... They never show her... I don't know if that's just what they show, or... Because he says, like, I don't want to talk about myself, I want to hear about you, but then they never show her talking about her.
Right.
Anytime they're talking.
Yeah.
It's always him saying stuff. Although maybe it's because, like, she doesn't remember what she said about herself. She just remembers what he said to her, because I could see that being a thing.
And you can definitely see how... the burden of my brilliance and my... I'm just so burdened by all of the responsibility and the fights. Everyone's against me.
Which I guess is true.
I don't know. I think he really likes talking about himself.
Definitely, it sounds like he likes conflict, because he was saying when it wasn't even close, I didn't like that.
And supposedly he also loved, like, all the attention, like, the crowds. I remember reading when he was no longer president and anytime he got to speak at, like, a convention, that he misses that so much, like, the big crowds and crowds of people, like, cheering for him, that was the thing he missed the most after being president.
Yeah.
Like,
wow.
I know.
Oh, what about the scene where Linda's like, let's put all of this into a spreadsheet?
Oh, I know.
God.
I was
totally normal thing to do.
Are you seeing this? Look. You go where he can see you, and he calls you within 2 weeks. It's a pattern, clear as day.
This spreadsheet is making me more depressed.
What? Monica, look at the pattern.
No. You know what I want? I want him to call me because he's actually thinking about me on his own. That is what I want.
Well, of course you do, but think of how you'll feel when you get the call.
That was very
Such
cringy.
a fucking enabler of this woman. I mean, obviously it's like for her own gain, but let's have a very clear record of everything that happened.
Let's do some documenting.
Yeah.
I mean, I know she was sort of right, but I feel like she gave the worst advice anyone could ever give when she's like, this sounds like it is absolutely not over.
Listening to all this sounds like it is absolutely not over.
What? Trust me, it's done.
It's not done, Monica. What you're describing sounds real. You think you're stuck in exile because he doesn't have feelings for you? You have it backwards.
When it's like he hasn't called her in like a month, or like how long has it been since she's even talking? You know, I mean, I just feel like any friend, if someone is talking about a guy this way who treats him that way, you feel like this is over, cut him off. This is not, you know, he's
It seems like Linda, she's got her hooks in this story and wants the conversation to keep going.
Yeah.
So she can
absolutely
just like, this isn't over. And then, of course, that'll set Monica up for coming back to her. Oh my God, Linda, you were so right.
You were so right. I was packed. I had my ticket. I was about to go get into a cab. Last minute, I decided to stay. And he called. He's sick and he sounded so tired, but he wanted to hear my voice. Linda, I can't believe it. How did you know?
I have a gift, Monica. It's just no one sees it.
Like she really is
see
good.
the
a good
manipulation.
puppet master. It's a shitty thing to be good at, but that is correct that she's underappreciated evil mastermind.
Right, and she's like making her feel, we know there are so many women he's been with and they're still there, but you're here. That's because you mean something.
Also, like, listen to yourself. Like, why is that a good thing?
Right. Like, even if there's any truth to that, it's like, what's the end game? Like, what would the future hold? You know, what is their future? Bill and Monica. You know? Like,
right.
It doesn't really matter. Like, did Bill have feelings for her or not? They weren't going to be together. Like, really be together. You know.
Yeah, which is what she really needed. She needed to go to Portland to visit her friend Kat, and
who's not going to say keep sitting by the phone.
To say exactly this about like, this isn't good for you no matter what. Like, even if he is missing you, even if he is thinking about you, even if he does want to bring you back, you shouldn't do it because this is not good for you. That's like something Linda will never really say because she doesn't care about Monica. She only wants this to continue so that she can make her power play.
Heather, why can't you just be a friend? Why are you such a mega bitch?
Do we think that she even knows at this point, like, what her end game is? Or if she's just flying by the seat of her pants because this is an opportunity for her to be involved?
Yeah, it seems like she's, I don't know, she just really wants to be right in the middle of a huge story or something of significance, something to make her feel like this vital member of the whole whatever is going on, and maybe get like a book deal or something out of it.
Yeah, she wants that book deal. She wants to call Margot Martindale back.
Yeah. Ugh, she's just so pathetic.
It's so sad, like the sitting in the chair with your lean cuisine.
That's the highlight of my day is heating up a potato and watching
microwave dinner.
And eating it alone in front of the nightly news. That is the saddest thing I've ever heard in my life. The highlight of my day is when I microwave a potato and eat it alone in front of the nightly news.
Right, like where every part of it's bad, you know? Like,
oh my god.
Even like a salad would be better than that.
A potato, and it's a plain fucking potato.
In the microwave.
Yeah, because she's dieting. It's her diet potato. And like what we know now about how that's like not going to help you with your diet.
Oh, I hate this gives me such like, I remember just like stabbing a potato 20 times with a fork and putting it in the microwave, and I'm getting like such bad feeling, bad memory, you know, about that. She's talking with Monica when they go antiquing. Oh, I could never meet your mom. She's Beverly Hills. At least let me go on Weight Watchers first.
Yeah, talking about dieting before meeting someone's mom.
I know, it's so awful.
Linda offers her some pastry or something, and Monica says, "I'm still depriving myself."
I'm still depriving myself.
Oh boy. You must be worth it.
That's
Linda's
such
like,
a telling fucking sentence.
And Linda's like, oh, it's been ages since I've had someone
to
worthy
starve
of
myself.
depriving myself. Yeah. And it's like, oh my god, it's so awful.
Sorry about that.
But it's like so honest, I
It
guess.
is,
Like that's sadly a thing. 90s.
The self-awareness of that's what we're doing, but then also this is what we need to be doing.
What we need to be doing. Yeah.
It's like we know full well what we're doing.
Like,
it's our job as women to make sacrifices to be appealing to not just people we want to fuck, but just anyone we want to impress at all.
Right.
And to do that, we have to deprive ourselves.
I sometimes wonder, like, what else could I have accomplished with all this time I've spent, like, obsessing about my weight, or, I don't know. I guess I just felt like, oh, God, I remember, you know, like, I hope things are different now.
Just ever so slightly.
Yeah, well, I guess I picked the wrong time to be a human being.
What else?
Do we want to do like hot probs, meaningful passages?
Oh yeah, our format.
Just shut up. Hot probs is on.
Oh shit, yeah.
Personally, I'll say I didn't have any, because it's a pretty solid show.
I still have the same one. Turn on some fucking lights. I
Yeah.
do not, especially the scenes where people are like in their own apartments. It's like, why is it so dark in here? Like, when Kat is over, it's like so dark. I don't like that. It's obviously a stylistic choice, but I'm gonna hate it every time.
Well, maybe it won't be every time, because it's a different director every episode, but yeah.
Let's see.
They're definitely going for a unified look. So the idea is that life was pretty dark and drab. Like the decor everywhere is dark, the lighting is dim.
Yeah, she's living with her mom, and her mom is a really wealthy woman. I guess they have different schedules.
Her mom's not always in bed.
The relationship with her mom, I wish I had known a little bit more about, and you get to see that later on in episodes where Mira Sorvino is more prominent, but they have like a interesting relationship. I think her mom knew about the affair. I mean, it was just like a closely held secret.
Yeah.
And I want to know more about that. When I was watching it initially, my hot prod was, why aren't we seeing more of Hillary at this point? But it'll happen later. Edie Falco's awesome, but yeah, I don't really have many. I really love the way that Monica is portrayed in this. I just feel like, oh, she's so young. The line where she's like, I feel so stupid. She knows that she's in this cycle. It's all like turned on herself. I just felt so sad where she kept saying like, I feel so stupid. She likes this older man who's the president, and he's really like dicking her around, you know, giving her those crumbs of like, oh, you get to sit in the first row to watch him read a speech on the radio or something, and he doesn't even say hello to you. He says hello to like some woman in the back.
Testing. 1, 2, 3. Susan.
It's all under the guise of like, we have to keep this a secret, but really I'm sure he loves the control too.
And I think everybody knows, oh, the girl with the pizza's here, you know, and it's like everybody, it's sort of like this open secret.
There's definitely lots of shots of people just around the office kind of like rolling their eyes almost, or just like extra long glances at this or that. Yeah, obviously like the secretary really knows what's happening.
Yeah, it's this weird like juxtaposition of she feels really special, but then like I'm sure she notices all these people around her. I don't know, they're ushering her into rooms and like trying to hide her and stuff.
Another
and
pizza
it's
girl's
like
here.
Right. You feel special, but they're not treating you like you're special, you know what I mean?
Next call.
I've already started underlining meaningful passages in her copy of Moby Dick, if you know what I mean.
The way that she's referred to by these people, like the girl is here with the pizza, or the intern. In fact, at one point, somebody unnecessarily says intern, says you, and she looks, so she knows that he wants to talk to her, and then he says intern.
You, intern girl, drunk this at Stephanos.
He makes a point of dehumanizing her even after he has her attention.
Right.
And it's not like, I didn't bother to learn your name, so I don't know what else to call you. It's like, I'm making a point of telling you you're the intern, reminding you you're a nameless intern.
Yeah, and she's like at the water cooler and need you now. You know, she's just on deck for running to the next room.
So that's probably also part of the attention that he gives her, is like he remembers her name and he calls her by her name, and he's the only one who does, really. So I think they're doing a very good job of showing how she got swept up in it all. And I mean, Beanie Feldstein in general is like so good in this performance. Her wide eyes.
Yeah, she's great.
But yeah, I thought that was very meaningful. The girls here with the pizza. I liked the line, you work from home, I don't know what you have to complain about.
Yeah.
What, like you have a stressful job, or... I mean, if I can be honest, you work from home? I don't know what you really have to complain about.
I thought that was very funny.
I like when they first show him and he says, I like your sweater.
I like your sweater, Monica.
Really, I like your tits, you know?
Yeah, because it's like a tight little sweater. That's what it is. It's not much of a sweater other than it's form-fitting.
When she goes back to the Oval Office, he's like, I just don't want to get addicted to you, and I don't want you to get addicted. It's like, wow, that's intense.
I wanted to get you in here alone as fast as I could.
The election is over.
I just don't want to get addicted to you, and I don't want you to get addicted to me.
Tinsley.
It's intense, and it's also like classic manipulative, older man controlling the relationship, pretending like he's as invested as her.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to be able to do my job with you around, or...
Totally.
But I do feel like anytime a man tells someone, like, don't get too attached to me, like, that's the one thing you need to listen to, you know? Like,
yeah.
That's
him telling you how he really feels.
Right.
I liked Ann Coulter telling I don't know who those lawyers are. Maybe they work for Ken Starr. But she's like, you're boring. I'm bored.
To be clear, the goal isn't to embarrass him. It's to constrain a president who has engaged in illicit activities.
I'm bored. You're boring. That's the problem with you Republicans.
You're a Republican.
I'm a conservative. You're all too nice. What does that get you? It gets you Dole.
What's wrong with Dole?
He lost. Idiotic American females couldn't wait to reelect their fat boyfriend.
She was kind of right. Like, this is what the Republican Party turns into. A total fucking circus.
Well, that's how the Republican Party became the Democrats, and the Democrats became nothing, and the new party emerged of fascists, basically.
Right. I mean,
like, Republicans aren't fascist enough, or in culture is what it is, really. I really thought her line was pretty significant about, this isn't about justice, it's about impeachment. Which is so fucking telling. That's like the conservative battle cry, basically, is I don't care about justice, I just care about winning.
Right.
I care about destroying my opponents. Like, that's the goal. Republicans are too focused on doing government work for her taste.
Yeah. Just seeing her in this, to me, is crazy. Where she was like, well, you have Bob Dole, and they're like, what's wrong with Bob Dole? And like,
oh God.
It's not sensational enough for her.
I laughed so hard when Susan Carpenter McMillan was like,
all that matters right now is the Supreme Court.
The same Supreme Court that made it legal to murder children.
What? Oh my gosh.
Yes, unborn children.
I was like, what? Oh my gosh. Like, she doesn't know what she's talking about exactly.
Like, what happened?
Yeah.
I love her. Anytime Paula talks to me, I'm like, we didn't even have Dillard's.
Yeah. I've never been in a Nordstrom's before. We didn't have Nordstrom's in Lone Oak, Arkansas. We didn't even have a Dillard's. My mama used to send off her patterns and make our dresses right there in the living room.
I also like the line, he loves gifts more than any adult man I know.
Well, the president loves gifts more than any adult man I know. I'll make sure he gets these.
Oh,
yeah, that was hilarious. Yeah, that
really
was funny.
He's a child.
Kinda, yeah. They really do exchange a lot of gifts. One of the recaps I was looking at had a link to the official court documents that had, like, the list of all the gifts they gave each other. And it was a lot of, like, mostly from her, but he would give her stuff too. Like, in the show, all the gifts are real. Like, the book of Jewish jokes, Oy vey. And, like, frogs. Apparently had a thing for frogs. Because he was always getting, like, little frogs.
Oh, that's funny.
Did they ever explain the frog thing?
I don't think so, yeah.
She got him a lot of ties and frogs.
That's a thing later in the show, too, about the ties. Him wearing them on TV and stuff, and for her to, like, notice. And, I don't know, the hat pin was kind of like, that seems like a grandma gift to give somebody or something. Like,
well, let's say, I mean, he says, I like when you wear hats.
Yeah.
So it's basically a way of him saying, like, so I want you to keep dressing like this.
Oh.
Because I'm into it. And she did wear a lot of hats.
Yeah.
So that's very fucking telling. That
is true.
That was because he's like, I like when you wear hats.
I didn't even know what a hat pin was. Like, I thought it was a letter opener when she opened it. I'm like, what is that thing?
Right. It's definitely not something that our modern eyes would recognize immediately.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Oh, a hat pin. Thank you. I wrote Beyond Moist.
Oh,
oh, God.
She's done it again. Refrigerated Snapple, directly on the desk, the part that is, in theory, a shared zone where I lay out my JCOC pamphlet proofs, but I can't now because it's moist. In fact, it's beyond moist.
The Snapple bottle.
A refrigerated Snapple right on the desk.
I love how Linda and her cubicle mate hate each other so much.
Linda! Can you answer your phone? I'm gonna kill her. Like, right now, you're gonna watch a murder.
That is very funny.
No, that was my other meaningful passage, is when Linda tells Monica, I'm gonna murder her. You're gonna watch a murder right now.
Sarah Paulson is absolutely destroying this role.
Right.
So fucking good. The way she delivered the line Beyond Moist. It was...
Right. Her face. Oh my God. She looks so disgusting.
Oh my God. And then, am I boring you? She's so abusive. She's so abusive.
Hello? Am I boring you?
No. It's just...
Let me guess. The mysterious boyfriend. Still no call?
And the whole thing is, like, she wants all the juicy details from Monica. She's such a leech. Even if she weren't doing this to further her career, I feel like she'd still be like this. Like, tell me all your young person troubles so I can give you terrible advice and be involved and tell you I told you so and give herself purpose. Like her line about, I have a gift but no one sees it. That should be on her tombstone.
She's forever getting the raw deal. She's a very aggrieved person.
Yeah. Oh, I wrote down that this is how my boss dressed when I worked for the state. I always thought she looked kind of sad.
Oh, it's funny because this is how my boss dressed when I worked for the state. I always thought she was kind of sad.
Well, you don't look sad.
And I love that because it's like, I mean, it's not like anybody... The clothes were just so bad at this time period. Yeah. They were not good. Monica looks really cute, but a lot of the time some of her stuff is a little over the top. But yeah, just the whole like drab power suit Washington thing.
Yeah.
Like it is sad. It's very sad.
There's no colorful options with it either. And then even like the heels or anything like with any kind of like a lift on the heel, they were all just so
chunky
and they were like blocks.
And I think it's like partly because they do have to fucking stand all day long. Like, they're always standing and walking. So you really can't have, like, sexy heels. But you also can't have flats for some reason. Right. You have to make a show of wearing a heel. You're going to be judged on your clothes. But, like, they're so ugly. I don't know. It's hard for me to understand.
So cute clothes, guys.
But especially all of Linda's jackets.
Linda, I was just thinking, Linda has the worst stuff.
Oh, yeah, it's very Talbotsy kind of.
But I'm sure it's so expensive. Like,
oh, yeah.
And also just like the weird boxy fit, when people like wear baggy stuff to, because they're uncomfortable with their weight, and it's like, but it just makes them look so much more frumpy, like it's just like...
Which I'm sure is something unspoken between Linda and Monica, because they're both larger size women, but Monica still dresses sexy, and Linda does not.
Right.
And I'm sure she resents Monica for feeling comfortable enough to do that.
Right, totally.
Yeah, and like... Linda Tripp is basically like, I'm closed for business or whatever.
I know,
like, I'm never gonna date again, never gonna...
I know, and it's like, I wonder how old she is. I want to look up how old she is. Like, how old was she in 1995?
It's been so long since I thought to deprive myself for a guy.
Really? Come on, there must be someone.
Oh, I'm closed for business.
Come on, no you're not.
Well, it's been 7 years. I wouldn't even remember how.
That's definitely a type of woman from that era, too. Because, like, that was, like, my mom was like that, too.
My mom was like that, too.
Yeah.
She got the divorce, and she's like, I'm done.
Yeah. Like, no sex drive, no desire for romance. So like, so soured on men forever.
She was only 46 years old.
Yeah!
I know, right?
I mean, she did marry again eventually. Actually, the thing with the Bavarian Christmas ornaments is a little Easter egg, apparently.
I am just wild about Christmas decor. Oh, and it's Bavarian.
She ended up marrying a German...
Oh, really?
Something. What was it? Where I wrote it down. Architect. And they opened a winter-themed holiday store in Virginia. Because they both love Bavarian Christmas.
Later, there's an episode of a Christmas party she hosts, and she's, like, obsessed with Bavarian Christmas. Everything. It's kind of funny. She's like, Monica, let me take you antiquing. And it's like, that sounds like the last thing like me as a 22-year-old antiquing?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not interested in
and
that.
And it didn't seem like she bought anything. She went to the mall later, and then that's where she went shopping.
It's just such an unlikely friendship, like, it's just...
Yeah.
We're just bonded by being,
stuck in this terrible office.
Yeah. It's just interesting. It's just wild how much time they spent together.
Yeah.
It's really wild. I did write down, you were really special to me, don't ever forget that. That was such a meaningful line to me because that is like such a bait line from a man who is not going to commit to you at all but wants you to be available to him.
Right, yeah.
Oh my god. And then her line about Kat's like, you didn't tell him you were in love with him, did you?
Monica, please tell me you didn't tell him that. Oh my god, what did he say?
He said... That means a lot to me.
Oh.
That's rough.
I would die. I know, I would die if I had an exchange like that.
Yeah.
I love you. That means a lot.
But how that's like enough for her. Kind of not enough, but like she doesn't take it as I gotta cut my losses.
Right.
She's like, well, that's all he can do, so I'll just be here for that. It's so bad for Monica.
Oh, Monica.
What else does a suicide need, huh? Now, if you're excuse me?
Do we have a lunchtime poll?
I feel like we have a lot of ideas for a lunchtime poll, so gotta choose which one.
Yeah. This episode did make me think a lot about a guy who's just not that into you, but isn't ready to let you go.
Oh, yeah, I've got one of those.
Yeah.
I'm sure I can think of one.
That's an option. What else do we have? The slizzy friend with the bad advice?
There's two kind of bad friend things, but the other one, I feel like getting hosed by a friend should come later because it hasn't really hosed her yet, you know.
She's in the process of hosing.
Yeah, being down bad for someone, bad advice.
What's like a silly thing you did when you were down bad for someone, kind of? I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I feel like I have a good one.
Yeah.
So this is what's called a lunchtime poll.
Well, do you want to go first then, anyone?
Sure, I'll go first. Okay, this is going way back in time. This is probably actually earlier in time than this show is, because I was down bad for my old pal Carmen, my first real love. So this was, when was I dating? Like I was like 19, 20, so early 90s. And Carmen was a guy I went to high school with, but we didn't date till after high school. And I took a couple of years between high school and college, so it was like a year after high school I was still living in my hometown. And like I knew Carmen like a little bit, like just kind of by sight, or like we had some friends in common. What happened, like how we ended up getting together, I guess, is that one day I was walking home. I was like 3 blocks from home, and I see him drive by, and I can't remember why we knew each other. But anyway, so it was like he was dropping off someone that he worked with. She lived like 3 blocks away from me, and he was dropping her off, and he saw me. He was like, hey, and then basically he dropped her off, and then I got in his car, and that was like the first time that we sort of hung out. I mean, we didn't hang out. It was just like he drove me home. I was 3 blocks from home, and he drove me home and asked me for my number, you know. And then we were sort of like dating on and off, but he was a real dog at that point. Things ended up totally different, but at that time, it was like he had a girlfriend that I didn't know about. I was down bad for him big time. So anyway, so it was kind of that dynamic that like I was doing some waiting by the phone for him sometimes. So sometimes what I would do, it would be like just intentionally be right over in that spot. Like it was like, okay, it's like 20 after 5, he got off work at 5, if he's dropping that girl home, then he's gonna be, you know, just be like walk up and down that block until his car shows up. Oh, hey!
Yeah.
So that's kind of embarrassing.
Aww.
It's alright. No hard feelings about that one.
Yeah. It didn't turn out terrible or anything.
He's one, like, I sort of accidentally broke his heart, like, 5 years later, so.
Oh, wow.
I know. I have only fondness for him. I mean, I'll never see him again. I never saw him again since whenever that was, like, 95, I guess. But I did look him up. He's married to a ginger, so.
Oh!
Still lives in my hometown.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was going to ask, that was my follow-up question, was if you ever Googled
like
him.
the only ex that I've ever looked up.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I had somebody that I held this torch for a long time since college, and it just kind of like continued for entirely too long. But he came to Seattle a few times, but it was never to see me, but like he came out for like some sort of, it was like a bachelor party or something, and I kind of like waited around for, you know, like when he would be free, and like, you know, it was just like the kind of like taking the crumbs kind of like to hang out. And then I was like so excited because he told me like he's somebody that like always dated people who were like nowhere near the state that he lived in, and like would tell me a lot about, oh, I'm dating this girl, I'm not really that into her, you know. It was always like that kind of like just keeping me interested.
Like you're available, he's available-ish.
Right, and I think I gave him, I think he knew, you know, and I think like it gave him a real boost to know that I, you know, was so, you know, and but like he came out, and then he came again to Seattle. He's like, yeah, I'm visiting this girl I'm dating, and I was like so crushed. And the girl was from Florida too, and I was like, oh, that's cool.
A blonde from Florida.
But yeah, and it was the same kind of thing. Like he still wanted to hang out and stuff, and then like it was just like I made myself available. Any text or anything. It was such a thrill. Kind of like how I operated a lot with guys. I thought that I needed to chase them, you know, and it wasn't interesting to me if it wasn't work or something. I don't know. That's a whole separate thing, but I really did a lot of work for that person, and it just went on for too long.
Yeah.
I guess that's my answer.
That's gotta be it. That's like a type of person who just collects crushes and like doesn't want to give anything back to them, but is just like, oh, I have all these people that are interested in me, and so I'm just gonna do just enough to get them to keep being interested.
Right, yeah. And like, it kind of like, it didn't necessarily keep me from dating people, but I always compared everyone to him. No one was, somehow in the back of my mind, I was just like, I'll end up with him or something. But like that did not happen, and that's it went on for way too long. We're all cringe, I guess. Everyone in the world.
Yeah, I think we've all been cringe at some point. I mean, let he who is not cringe. I don't know, cast the first tweet or something. I don't know how to end that.
I don't know. I feel like I'm so negative. Like, answers are so depressing.
I mean, it's a depressing topic. Yeah, the question is, like, when have you made yourself...
When are you a fool for love?
Thank you for putting it like that.
Well, anyways, you guys are so positive. I
haven't gone yet.
I mean, I'm still going through it now. You know, like I can talk about this Carmen thing because it's like nothing, you know.
Yeah.
I'm still processing a lot. I had a bad September in a lot of ways, and I'm realizing I'm still dealing with it. So.
No, sorry, honey.
No, it's okay.
Okay, well, I got one. So I planned on moving to London after graduation with my friend Faye. And I was just dating around, you know. I was like, I'm just going to have some summer flings and it'll be fine. And I actually, like, broke up with this one guy who expressed to me that he was serious about me. And I was like, well, I better break up with him because I'm going to be leaving and I don't want that. And that was, like, my whole breakup speech was like, this is getting too serious and I don't want a serious relationship before I move to London. Which is, like, very reasonable, right?
Yeah.
So then, of course, I go and fall for this guy, like, really hard, who, in retrospect, was indulging my intensity about it because he knew that it was going to end. So he worked at a video store, and suddenly, like, my rentals ramped way the fuck up. I'm, like, returning them in the store even though they have an outside drop box. I knew his schedule. I would definitely go, like, when he was working. I was so crazy for him. I'm sure I told him I was in love with him, and I'm sure that he responded, like, not in a non-committal way. And then I moved, and we broke up. And we talked about it, like, we weren't going to wait for each other or whatever. But I was still so crazy about him that I would buy phone cards just to call him and, like, try to call him after he got off work. Like, I would be like, okay, he gets off work at midnight, so I'm going to call him at 12:30 because then I know he'll be home. And it was, like, so hard to call people from Europe with a fucking phone card. To people listening who've never used that, like, if you misdial, it's like 50 numbers you're entering into the payphone. And if you misdial, you have to start all over again.
Yeah. Oh, God.
It was so hard to do this. And I would always be drunk, of course, when I was doing it, too. Oh my God, it was nuts for him. And I was like, you know, whatever, making out with guys and trying to party and trying to forget him. But, like, I really related to that line that Monica says about, like, I just wish I could stop thinking about him for, like, 1 fucking minute.
Yeah.
That was just me. Like, everybody I dated was like, but it's not him. Like, I'm not feeling the same things when I make out with this random dude as I did when I was with this guy. And I was just kept thinking, like, if I send him letters and we keep in touch, and I made him a mixtape and I mailed to him from England, that was, like, a big deal.
Wow.
You know?
That's like a labor of love. Yeah.
And then he wrote me a letter afterwards. And then, like, one side of it was, like, kind of, I'm in love with you, and the other side was, like, fuck you, you asshole. Yeah, it was just a whole thing. Like, we were not together at all, but he was still on my mind big time, and I could not get over it. And when I got back, I waited to call him because I didn't want him to know how much I was into him. But then he contacted me and was like, emailed me and was like, are you back? We should hang out. And I was like, I am. Let's hang out. And I totally was like, are we getting back together? What's going to happen? We hung out. We had sex. And then afterwards, he was like, we're not together. And I was like, what? That was just a really rough time. I have a really hard time getting over that fucking guy. And it's not that, like, he ruined my time in Europe, because I had such a good time. And I was definitely bawling out all over the place, you know, but he, like, was just there in my mind the whole time. And I wish that hadn't been the case, because, I mean, who knows how much more fun I could have had if I hadn't had that over me the whole time.
Right.
I don't know. How do we end this thing?
Greetings and salutations.
Greetings and salutations just to anyone who's down bad right now.
Yes, thank you. How about that?
Someday you'll barely remember this guy. Or you'll remember every detail about it, but you won't be down bad for him anymore.
Yeah, I guess that's a good thing to say. Yeah, it won't be forever. Because, I mean, I'm not still down bad with this guy. I got over it. But at the time, it seemed impossible. And Monica's okay now, too.
Yeah, there's something about being down bad. The slow burn versus the intensity, like, right off the bat. Like, if you're down bad for someone, does that mean it's good?
For me, what I think of down bad means is, like, when you're into someone more than they're into you.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. It's different than being in love or
infatuated or having a crush on someone. I feel like it's being into someone and there's something off about it.
Yeah.
It's uneven.
Okay,
And in fact, my friend Faye would tell me repeatedly while we were in London, and I was like this, that she would be like, you're only doing this because you want a connection to Seattle. It's not him. It's like the idea of like someone back home that you are into. And I don't know if that was right or not. I don't know if that's right or not, but I mean, he wasn't like the one or anything. He wasn't good for me in so many ways. But I was still so into him. I mean, she was right in the sense that he was not good for me. She was definitely right about that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, the infatuation. It's so hard to think objectively or anything when you're so into somebody.
It is.
I was just trying to think of what's some advice to impart for somebody down bad, and I can't think.
Well, I think Kat has good advice, which is like, if he isn't making you happy, then you gotta cut it out.
I feel like one of the few good things that holds up from Sex in the City was the he's just not that into you thing, like that episode where they're totally dissecting the behavior of someone that Miranda went out with, how like he didn't come up because he had to get up early. But, you know, he probably really did have to get early. And then Berger, who's Ron Livingston, was like, if a guy is into you, he's gonna make it happen. If you're not hearing from him, if he's turning down, coming upstairs to your apartment, then he is just not that into you. You know, like that's what I feel like. If someone is into you, you don't have to sit there and analyze every morsel that they've thrown you or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's good advice.
I mean, I feel like if you're into someone but it makes you feel bad, that's what down bad is. You know, like it shouldn't make you feel bad.
Right.
Exactly.
I have heard that it's good, actually.
If you enjoyed this episode of Paid in Puke, please take a minute to rate us highly on your preferred podcast listening apparatus. If you did not enjoy this episode, no further action is necessary. Paid in Puke is hosted by Annie Malone, Christina Barr, and Jessica Baxter. Music by Silent Partner. Follow us on Twitter at PaidInPukePod, on Instagram at PaidInPukeSeattle, and on Facebook at Paid in Puke Podcast. Thanks for listening.
Lick it up, baby. Lick it